This is interesting times, and it certainly got a whole lot interestinger yesterday. And I think a little election. Right.
Our guy won.
I'm so happy.
We did it. Wait, we're going to shift this into like a pro-Trump podcast, right?
Well,
because
we need to now.
Right. They're listening.
I don't want to go to the camps.
Yeah. Exactly.
They've promised to target small podcasts in particular with with a negligible amount of listeners. They're like, the fewer listeners you get, you're going down.
Yep, they're after us.
But I did want to talk about how, and we just did a show the day before the election. We wanted to come back to react to it. And we did make predictions. I was trying really hard to force you to make a prediction. And I was like, she's definitely winning. Because he was so unhinged. And I just couldn't even imagine. And I did this in 2016 too. I just had a really hard time imagining people supporting him. I was so convinced that the multitudes of women voters would reject him, and that would be it, and that it would be a historic night. And you were like, your gut told you just were like, I don't know, my gut tells me Trump, and you were right.
Yeah, because even after the good news,
How
I was
did
still
you
like,
know?
I guess I just have no faith in my fellow Americans. I
don't have faith in a lot of them, but I thought maybe 50.7% would do the right thing.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where, like, I'm not surprised, but there's a part of me that is still surprised, if that makes any sense.
Of course.
Surprised at what appears to be that he won by a significant margin, that he won quite so many states, at least. And they're even, it seems
he might
like
win at every swing state.
And he might have won the
popular.
The popular
vote?
I
think he's going to win by like at least
be a genuine
5 million
surprise.
votes. And you texted that to me last night, and I was like, even after California, because I figured California would put her over the top, at least with the popular vote.
Yeah. They're saying that like 20 million fewer Dems voted.
Oh, really?
But I don't know if it's all, I don't know if that's just an estimate, including what California is expected to be or what.
Did young people come out and vote ultimately?
You know, I don't know.
I guess.
Because I haven't seen anything that really is breaking down what happened.
I guess it's going to all come. We're going to get this information pretty soon.
Yeah, it's everybody's like, already saying, oh, it was this, it was that.
Right. The Latino males broke for Trump, apparently.
Wow.
Yeah, which is... Wow. And when I went to do the canvassing in Pennsylvania in Allentown, I had no idea about Allentown, but apparently it is a majority Latino city. I didn't know, good. And there were some people I talked to who were Latino who seemed to be, potential Trump voters.
Yeah.
So wow. But I did want to bring up this like classic question that some people have asked, and we can do away with it pretty quickly. But there's this whole thing, the Bradley effect. Do you know about that thing where there was a governor candidate for California, actually, a guy named Bradley who was black, and it was a while ago. And the polls were saying he was doing well, and then the vote came out, and I guess he lost. And then there was this term, the Bradley effect, which Wikipedia says is also known as the Wilder effect for some reason. I don't know why. But it's this idea that people don't tell pollsters they would not support a black candidate. Do you think that was in play?
I don't know. My gut says no.
Right. You think it was more like a women thing, or do you think it was really all about the economy? And
I think there's lots of different factors that came into play. Like, I you know what, race certainly, I'm sure it plays a role, but I don't know that people would be so ashamed to say that they wouldn't vote for a black person anymore, like in this election. I don't know, but maybe.
And we've also...
But I think they would, but I don't know that they would be ashamed to admit it.
Well, we've talked about this in the past, that there are blatant racists, and then there are
Yes.
obviously people who are saying they're not racist, but yeah, they're kind of, they're racist,
They're racist. They might not even realize they're racist.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all like a little bit racist.
Exactly.
Because it's what do they call it? It's structural racism. It's a real thing.
In elections, there's no rules that you can't be racist when you're voting against whoever you want.
I think that sexism is probably the bigger element.
We have had a black president for 2 terms so far, but we have never had a woman president.
Yes,
not yet. And we've tried a couple of times. We tried for a woman vice president, Geraldine Ferraro.
Right. Well, we had one. Her.
She wasn't. Mondale was
no. I mean, no.
Oh, we had a woman vice president. Well, yeah, Harris was right. So we've achieved that. But I think even apart from racism, there's just a lot of voters, I think, just want to choose people that they're comfortable with. And that will sometimes make them choose people that are like them. So if they're white, they choose white people.
I guess
isn't that horrible?
So hard to
I know.
I mean, I'm not even saying, making a moral judgment on it, but yeah, it's horrible. But that Trump is like them is just. But you know what? Then I say it, and I'm like, well, he's crass, he's crude.
Yeah, like these white
he
middle
says
class.
What people want to say.
Exactly. Like I feel like back in the 70s or whatever, the people who were kind of like upper middle class who were watching All in the Family laughed at Archie Bunker, and they thought he was hilarious. But I think there was probably a large amount of people who were like, that guy's great, right?
Yeah.
Who kind of related to him. And I think, gosh, I hate to criticize Democrats, because I do feel like they ran a pretty good campaign and they tried their best.
I don't know.
Well, I think we're allowed to. Nobody's going to hold us back if we want to criticize.
Yeah, I don't know that she ran a great campaign, but I don't know that anything would have made a difference just based on inflation. But we're not sure yet. I'll be curious, and that's why I think there's probably a lot of factors. So yes, just to confirm, I would say that racism and sexism were
played a
part in play here, but I don't know that that's necessarily even something we should worry too much about.
Well, I think campaigns.
Forward and what we should
I think the parties should think about it. They should be like, is this a candidate that can overcome the racism and sexism in America? And Obama could overcome it.
Right. I mean,
he's a superstar.
A long time ago, too, is that I feel like for a woman to overcome it, she's going to have to be an Obama-level politician,
right?
That is that kind of superstar and has that kind of magnetism, because they have to clear a higher bar, unfairly because of sexism. So that's definitely true. The thing is, I thought Harris was going to do it because she came out of the gate so strong.
Maybe that was a problem that she came out so strong. Maybe it raised expectations.
She lost the enthusiasm, and I think it might be partly because of and people are all saying because of her sort of going to the right so much and trying to win over Republicans so much, and with her whole thing with the Cheneys, it was just like she campaigned with her endlessly.
Well, Liz Cheney is as admirable as she is and heroic in some ways. She isn't the most exciting candidate.
That too,
and I mean, or exciting person, but
I'm not even someone who says, "Oh, we have to just totally," she could say, "Oh, Liz Cheney," but she just making her the center of the campaign is like, what are you kidding me?
Well, I think also it's contradictory to the campaign's message of we're not going back. So if your whole thing is we're not going back, and then you're like, let's spend 7 days with Cheney, that is going back.
I mean, again, I think it comes down to that enthusiasm, and I think Harris just ignored appealing to the Dem base.
But they seemed enthusiastic. Didn't you feel like there was enthusiasm? Even now, I mean, she filled the stadiums, but
I don't know. I didn't feel it. That's me.
Another question I had.
I did at the beginning.
Yeah, no, me too. And I felt like she kind of was, having a little trouble, and then I thought she'd just close so strong. Yeah. So that's partly why I predicted she'd win.
But she also didn't separate herself from Biden at all.
Well, that was a big problem.
That was a big
and the campaign,
problem. People hated Biden.
They should have given her an answer for that if she was asked that. And she went on The View. She got stumped by The View.
She was too vague. She wasn't saying, I'm going to do this and that and the other thing. She was just... that's the thing. I feel like she didn't give people things to get excited about.
And here's another question for you. I feel that the Democrats sometimes choose candidates that are too, they come, even if they're not, they come across as fancy and like too establishment. And
well, yes,
establishment,
absolutely.
I think Biden comes across just the vibes, and we've talked about that term vibes, that people like are into that whole thing. But he's like very like, as much as he's been in politics and has been on the inside, he comes off as like this like salt of the earth, like white Irish dude that you could like hang out with, and he seemed like
he's the most insider of insiders and Trump, in a way. But
Trump, as much as he's a multimillionaire and doesn't give a shit about working class people, I think he has that kind of vibe, that language of like that gives like poorer people or middle class people the feeling like this guy knows my anger.
Yeah, I think he won poorer people, maybe people under 50K.
I bet
he won.
Well, non-educated, and non-college educated people.
Well, Harris won people over 100K, which is rare. Usually Republicans win.
Oh, interesting. But just to continue, I think she kind of, I don't know, She said, I come from a middle-class background a lot. Yeah. But she never gave, like, the great stories of what, like, Joe Biden is always like, my daddy always told me, and he'd have some folksy quote, And she didn't really have that, unfortunately. No. So maybe if she was in the race longer, she would develop it. But
that's true. I feel like we know nothing about her past
felt
that
very,
like, or hardly anything.
She felt kind of corporate. I mean, I feel bad because I really liked her, and I felt like I feel bad doing this 2020 hindsight thing. But I think Hillary Clinton had a problem with that, and I think John Kerry had a problem with that. And even like your senator, what's his name, Adam Schiff, and he's so great. Yeah. But the way he talks, just the vibe, he kind of has this like haughty thing going on, and I think Kerry had that too. And I think the Democrats, if they're going to choose a candidate that has issues with coming off, real, they need to work with them to like figure out. And I think even Obama had an issue where he was like, these people cling to their guns, remember that, and Bibles, and then that was a big gaffe, and then he kind of had to like work off that, go back and like figure it out a little bit. How do you talk to like poor people and lower middle class?
No, I mean, I do think leaning into that kind of stuff and alienating people in that way is a bad idea. But then at the same time, they also don't sort of, I want to just say demonize the rich enough. But like, and honestly, sometimes that stuff does turn me off because I think it's, I'm more about like the system is set up to help them rather than just hating rich people per se.
Right.
But like more like,
and people people want to be rich too. Even like poor people don't love that class warfare.
You could say like things are set up against you, and part of the reason we have all this horrible inflation is because of corporate power and them getting bigger and bigger, and we need to break up some of these big companies, stuff like that actually literally might make a difference in bringing down inflation and helping small businesses, and also sort of channel populist anger a little bit, because I think that I think maybe is the most salient point to pull away from here, is that people are furious at the system. People are angry and burn it down mode. And I don't think that's just Republicans. I think it's a lot of people on the left as well. People are just I don't know
They feel like
exactly?
they're on a
But
treadmill. I think like life is relentless, and it's just gotten more and more relentless. And I think the more technology has come, it makes it more exhausting because you have to keep up with the technology, and then you're looking at your neighbor's nice pool, and you're pissed off. And people are pissed, and
that's interesting, actually. Yeah. You see,
people aren't talking about social media. So. I think it's a big problem, and I think
because it's not just your neighbor's pool; it's like everybody in America's pool.
Yeah, and to your point, I think Bill Clinton, because I had mentioned some politicians on the Democratic side that kind of had that issue where they had trouble relating to the salt of the earth, and Clinton was when he campaigned, he was very good at saying. I'm going to try to do an impression, but I'll be terrible. When you play by the rules and you do what it takes, but you can't fall short. Was that close? No.
That's
I don't know. It sounded like a guy with a head cold.
It started. I thought it was good.
It went off.
Also, did you see this thing? He went to like Michigan and was speaking to, I guess, an Arab American audience or something, and he was just like. Well, it's bad that so many of your people have died, but,
oh boy.
He like really made light of it, and it was just like...
He's not in the best shape.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Say nothing rather than say what you're saying.
Did you hear that Jill Stein got like 22% of the vote in Dearborn County?
Yeah.
So, Not that it would have made any difference at all. She would have lost, but no matter what. But that's depressing.
Yeah, I mean, Dems could have taken another thing. She could have separated herself from Biden on, and she just didn't.
And they
they
could have had somebody speak at the convention who
right, or just said she's. I don't know. Just criticized Israel some, or criticized Netanyahu rather than go after like the Israel per se.
Yeah, and just
like something.
I think
let's say she's going to change something, because I don't think that it made that much of a difference in terms of like, oh, we lost our vote or something like that. But I do think it was just another thing that decreased enthusiasm amongst the base.
Somebody pretty early on did tell her, "Do not stray from the teleprompter." You know what I mean? I mean, it was rare. Even when she wasn't on a teleprompter, she pretty much hit the talking point from the teleprompter.
Yep.
And I get it. I think she assumed that like the juxtaposition between her being on message and Trump being this like wackadoodle crazy guy would help her. But you did want to hear. You wanted, and I hate this because there were so many people who like criticized her for this and not Trump. But it goes without saying that Trump is worse and crazier. But it is fair to say, like, you want to get a sense of like what are the things she really believes in, and what were the things in her youth or her life or as a DA that like were important moments for her. And there were very few moments where I remember one time when Trump's kids spoke about him at the convention, like in 2016, everyone was talking about how none of them had personal stories about their dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was really weird. And I think this criticism is a little bit on that level. It's like, what are the details?
Yeah, I feel bad, sort of tarring her with what Hillary got hit with, too, in terms of feeling that she wasn't genuine in some way. But I certainly didn't feel that way at the beginning of her campaign. I felt like a genuineness and an energy. But then it really felt like she pulled back, and it felt like she had this, non-genuine, it's just kind of cardboard cutout candidate, kind of.
Yeah.
Like people got in her head, and she became less of herself. Like, I'm sure, like, who were these people who did that to her?
Do you think,
know what I mean?
And also, do you think the assassination attempts on Trump made the campaigns, like, not do certain types of events? Like, where I heard that they were not going to, like, diners anymore and that sort of thing. And maybe that hurt Harris a lot, because her, like, hanging out, eating a cheeseburger, like, that was Biden's strength. He could, like, eat an ice cream cone and hang out, being a little ridiculous, but it made you feel like he was, like, a real person. And Trump did do the McDonald's thing, which looked absurd, but maybe it actually helped him. In the garbage truck.
It's just like nothing matters when it comes to Trump. He is slurring a lot.
He is.
I wonder what's going on with that. And also, I just looked at a little bit of his speech from last night, because I don't know how much I'm going to be able to watch.
You looked at the video,
that might be the thing I'm most upset
the
about.
transcript.
He's around still. Just
I know.
Deal with that person. The video. I watched just a tiny bit of it.
What was it?
And I just really jumped around. He's saying, we're going to change America, blah, blah, blah. Just that kind of stuff. But what struck me was that he didn't look that excited to have won. He didn't. Like in 2016. Well, 2016, he just looked shocked that he won. But this time he was kind of like, he just didn't look excited. And I'm like, I think this guy likes better when he loses and he just gets to be angry and doesn't have to, like, do stuff.
Right. Well, I'm sure when he probably didn't even think about, like, that he'd actually have to do the job while he's been campaigning. Yeah. So now it's probably dawning on him how horrible it was, like COVID and shit, and he was so terrible and out of his league.
I know, but then it's like, but it almost feels like the most craziest elements are, beyond his craziness even, are going to lead the campaign, the administration.
Right, right. It appears that way.
But we have to do a whole thing of, like, how we're screwed, like what the biggest things are. I mean, abortion, of course. Are they going to make it illegal nationwide? That feels like that could happen.
Well, also, he's going to put more conservatives on the Supreme Court.
Right. I mean, that's like a nightmare.
That's bad. He's going to deport, like, tons. I mean, it's so interesting that Latino voters supported him in such large numbers. I'm sure we're going to get videos of people, and I'm not overgeneralizing, but I bet there will be people who voted for him whose family gets deported. Don't you think?
Probably.
I'm just waiting for that. It'll be
interesting how far he goes with it, and how many how many people with green cards, or who I forget the different levels of citizenship, but basically who are legally here. Fully legally here, will he deport them too?
Right.
And then what about people who have citizenship, who get caught up with it, and are in prison for who knows how long? It's like that kind of stuff.
I mean, there will be people they'll just get rid of, and they won't check their paperwork, and then it'll turn out that they were citizens.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Ukraine and Putin, that's really serious and scary.
It is. I mean...
Because if Putin gets free reign, and he like invades Poland, like, we could be having a nuclear apocalypse. Anyway, my son is in the other room. I shouldn't talk so darkly, but
I wonder what would happen with that. Yeah, if he would just go for Poland. I hadn't even considered that.
Well, people, they've all, I mean, and he's going to disband NATO too, so Trump will,
Yeah, it's dangerous. I mean, I do think it's scary to think about our foreign enemies taking advantage of this.
I know.
Because what is going to happen if, China's just going to be newly empowered, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And Russia as well.
I
don't know.
It's bad.
It's bad.
And all of his court cases are going to get thrown out now. He's definitely... What you were just saying that on the last episode.
Well, that's why I feel like there's no way. It would be kind of funny if this... Because I think he's getting his sentencing on the 27th or something.
Yeah.
It would be funny if the judge was like, all right, we're locking you up for 2 years or something. And then it's like...
Right, then Clarence Thomas will have to set him free.
I know. Man, I hope... God, I hope the judges just like screw it.
That would be
jail
funny.
for a week or something like that.
That would be a true constitutional crisis.
Yeah,
and then we could say, your first state's rights, and it is New York State that wants to imprison you.
That's another thing I'm worried about too is guns. Are they going to make it where guns are
mandatory,
more legal? Yeah,
right.
Mandatory.
You have to carry an AR-15 now.
Right. Well, yeah, it's just like because they want to override states' rights. Which is so in many ways, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's not going to be good. Not going to be good.
I wonder, could they put in a new Supreme Court justice to replace, what's her name? She's older.
Amy Coney Barrett?
No, a Democrat. She's the one who's like in her 70s or something and has diabetes. I forget her name.
Oh, is there one in her 70s?
Or maybe even 80. Yeah, it's... anyway, I wonder if they could replace her.
The Latina
yes
one. Oh my God,
if
how
they could
terrible!
Like if she would step down, is there enough time in the lame duck session
I don't know that there's enough
to get
time.
her to step down, because because who knows what happens to her in the next 4 years,
right?
Because it could just be
Sotomayor. Oh
yes,
boy,
jeez. It could be just that he's replacing Alito and
Thomas, yeah,
with young people.
Right. But that is a good point. Like if Sotomayor, God forbid,
right, exactly,
dies or gets very sick.
Right, that's the big
yikes
risk.
Oh boy, all right.
But who knows? Maybe Alito and Thomas will be like, "I'm not stepping down."
Well,
maybe they'll do the same thing as RPG.
That would be nice.
Yeah,
we will see. All right, well, let's wrap it up. There'll be, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I guess there won't be rioting in the streets because he won so convincingly. So maybe
rioting.
Maybe it's good.
Do you think there'll be a big demonstration like there was in 2016?
I don't know. People are so tired, but maybe.
I know.
People are just exhausted. He's done what he wants to do. Just make people exhausted.
Yep, I mean it's true. Like I don't want to read the news anymore.
I didn't feel like whenever I posted some like anti-Trump thing, I'd never get like likes or comments. I feel like people are just done with it.
Oh well, Facebook also I think makes it difficult for people to see political stuff.
It's like the algorithm. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think it majorly deprioritizes it.
Okay. Especially near an election, probably.
Yeah. You got to like put up a photo and then write like puppies. Look at my puppies,
right.
And then like people can see.
That's interesting. I should try that.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. Wow, crazy.
All right.
We will talk, and we're not going to say stay strong or we'll be okay because we might not. But
yeah,
we'll just
figure it out.
Keep our heads.
I'm gonna go look for my passport and get it renewed.
You should do that, definitely.
Yeah, got to get it renewed. Got to be ready to go.
All right, Matt. We'll talk soon.
All right, talk to you.
Bye.
Bye.